Are we winning and living in utopia yet? Because that's what I keep hearing from the AI companies. The latest step in this utopian death march that we're on, whether we choose to be or not, is a new product just released by Anthropic, where now you're expected to use the AI for your work, but you're also expected to now pay AI to grade that AI work. Let me explain how messed up this is. If you're not a software engineer, here's your 30-second rundown of what I'm talking about here. When you write code and it's going to make it into a production app like Amazon.com, you're handling people's money. It's high risk, right? So you're not just going to push that code to production. You're going to write the code, and then you're going to have everybody on your team take a look at it and say, oh, hey, you missed a dot here. You need to change the copy there to make sure that nothing is going wrong. It's the same way you proofread an article before you put it out if you're a journalist. The process where other people look at that code before it goes out is called code review. And so what Anthropic has done with Claude Code is we're now using Claude Code to generate the code. So an engineer says, hey, generate code that does this, generate a feature that does this. Claude Code generates that for you. Now we're going to use Claude Code to check Claude Code's own work, and it's going to cost us money every time we're going to do that. Still not making sense? I got you. Let's say I start a baking show. I do a hard pivot of this YouTube channel. I say, this is Dr. J's Great American Bake Off. Totally original. I have my friends in. We compete at baking. I'm baking, but I'm also the host of the show, but I'm also a contestant. So I bake my sourdough bread. It comes out horrible. Anytime I put something in the oven, it comes out horrible. And then I judge them, and mine's bad, but I'm like, it's me, so I'm going to win. That's basically what Claude Code is doing. It's the image of Obama giving himself the Nobel Peace Prize. Let's get into the nuts and bolts of this first. Let's hear it from Anthropic first. Let's check out their marketing video. It's cute. I'll give it that. All right. Claude's making some comments on the code there. Too much text as usual. Ownership is now guarded. Wow. Much security. The concerning thing here to me is the branding. Call me old school, but I do not like dev tools and engineering related things to be really branded at all. Like, we shouldn't have design people working on engineering facing stuff. One of the whole beauties of engineering, you'll notice it if you go to my site, drjoshcsimmons.com. Everything is like a hard contrast terminal aesthetic. That's what I like to look at all day. That's what I grew up in. That's engineering to me, is it's getting under the hood. You take a car, you have a rough shape. It's a rough frame. You have the engine exposed when you're done building a car. And then you put essentially like cowlings, fairings, and a shell over it to make it smooth, to make it aerodynamic, to make it, some would say visually appealing. I don't really like that shell. I've never really liked that shell. That's why I went into engineering and not design, is I'd rather be in the engine bay than working on some gradual kind of amorphous bubble curves to put over it. It's kind of the same sensation when you go to Disney and you feel kind of I always feel a little uncomfortable when I've been to Disney. I used to live out near Anaheim, California, got the yearly pass one time with my now wife, and we went a few times. I was from Ohio, figured, we'll check this out. I want to get into it. I'm a Californian now, at least for a little bit of time. And it just always felt too happy to me. It turned my stomach a little bit. Everything felt too happy. There's no trash anywhere. And something in my subconscious, call me damaged, whatever, setting off alarm bells that it's like, it's too buttoned up. Nothing in real life is this buttoned up and perfect. There's a speck of grime there. Not everyone is happy all the time. It just doesn't feel real. And that's setting off some weird alarm bells in my animal brain. And that's the same sense I get when I look at any kind of Claude promotional materials, any of these AI companies making promotion materials. Is anyone who's spent time in the engine room knows that this stuff is messy. There's oil leaking everywhere. Stuff doesn't fit all the time. Sometimes you got to use duct tape in a pinch to just do some kind of a bodge job to fix it up and keep it running. It's really dirty, messy work with a lot of trade-offs. And that's one of the issues with a lot of these newer shows like TBPN. It's a couple of basically like finance venture capital guys that couldn't write a for loop to save their lives. They're doing these shows that are very sympathetic towards big tech, towards venture capital, and they don't really know what it's like down there in the engine room. They've never put hands on code. They've never coded production systems. They've never launched a horrible bug into production and then had to be accountable for that. That makes you into a different kind of thinker, and it prioritizes you towards different kinds of things. It's not necessarily a value judgment, but in a sense it is for making coding tools. So you put up your code changes and then you say, hey, Claude, take a look at this. And it does a couple of things. It spins up a bunch of different AI agents at the same time to run through code changes, to run your tasks, to look through the different changes in your code base. It posts inline comments, missed a dot here. That's not the name of the method over here. And then it ranks bugs by severity in a stoplight system. So red, yellow, and green. It also uses purple, but I don't really know what that does. I feel like purple is either really good or really bad. But hopefully you see the snake is starting to eat its tail. And we have that straight from the horse's mouth. Cat Wu, Anthropic's head of product, says the product exists because Claude Code dramatically increased code output, which created a review bottleneck. Their own words, said without comment there. All right, shut up and take my money. I don't like reviewing code. I'll say it. That's the elephant in the room. No engineer does. It's something you got to do to support your team. It's a camaraderie thing. You know, it's not the thing you most look forward to during the day if you're an engineer. It's something you do to support your teammates and make sure you're shipping good code. So what's it going to cost me to just do away with this? Well, about $15 to $25 per code change. That's going to scale with the size of your code changes and the complexity. There's a couple of existing players in this market. I onboarded one when I was at American Express, and then I've used other ones at various different companies. So let's run through the competitor analysis first. First off, I should state that this Claude Code Reviews thing, it charges on a token basis. A token is kind of like a chunk of a word. So it's very indeterminate and obscured from you how much this is actually going to cost before you rev it up on APR, which is by design. Some other solutions you have in the space are Codacy. They charge $21 per developer per month. That's unlimited scans, so they're charging by seat, not per PR. You also have SonarQube, which has a free community edition. They have paid plans as well. In most of these static analysis tools charge per seat. I'll admit that they're not quite as good as AI testing or as dynamic or as rigorous or involved, but that is a decent amount of automated quality you're getting for $20 a developer a month as opposed to $15 to $25 a PR question mark? I don't know. I gotta hand it to Wu and the other folks in Anthropic's product team, though. They are very clever. They're very clever. Claude Code has, by all estimates, increased engineering code output at least by 200%, which means more code, more reviews, more tokens, more money for Anthropic. Are you getting it? They're creating the need, and then they are also servicing the need on the other side. They're playing both sides of the equation. It's quite brilliant. So here's the new business model. Let me break this down for you. And I've seen this happen at enterprise companies. If I really had to put some lines around it, I'd say once the company gets over 2,000 employees, and you got a significant tech product, whether it's a tech company or not, you have a significant detachment of tech workers there. Here's exactly what happens. You have some kind of a middle management layer, usually a VP that's in charge of maybe 500 employees roll up to them, let's say, and they release a bug. Oh no, a bug. Oh, we can't have those anymore. We're supposed to be perfect. AI is supposed to make us perfect. But the more engineers you have, the more code gets written, the more bugs get written. That's just how this works. Yes, even with AI tools, this happens. This is an immutable scaling law that just happens with all engineering departments. So you have some bugs come out, right? Oh no. And it happened. The VP thinks it happens on my watch. It goes out. Maybe it even makes a news headline. And then the executive VP hears about it. Oh no. Or the CTO. And they call you. They call you at 7 p.m. on a weekend. You're at your kid's soccer game, but you say, hey, F you, I got to go, family. I got to get back to the laptop. I got to talk to the boss, man. I'm very, very, very important. Very important. I have to work 24/7 every day of the week. And so you take the call, it's the CTO, and they're just like, well, you released a big bug into production. You got to do something about the heads. Heads are going to roll over this. Heads are going to roll. We're going to have to talk about this in our quarterly earnings. You know, you get some kind of gnarly call like that. And so what does this person do? If you're the VP at a large enterprise company, I'm not saying across all sizes of company. I'm saying like if you're a VP at a large enterprise company, you don't know what the hell you're talking about at the code layer. You don't code for fun anymore because you can't have hobbies because there's no time. So you don't know what's going on in the engine room. No freaking clue. No freaking clue. All you know is power and politics at that point, which is a skill unto itself, but you're out of your depth when you're talking tech. Regardless, you talk tech. You bring in your lieutenants, maybe Saturday night if it's bad enough, right? Let's say Monday morning, first thing, schedule a meeting. And you basically pass down that trauma from your CTO. Your heads will roll, quarterly earnings. Oh, we can never let this happen again. Bugs cannot happen in our system. You got to crack down on it, right? And so the only way with metrics that you can crack down on this is you can look, and it's very misguided, but you can look and you can say, well, engineers aren't spending enough time in code reviews. We just need more code reviews. If we had code reviews, if everyone did code reviews for 20 hours a day, then we would never have this issue. And Anthropic, their stated goal, Dario Amodei has mentioned this in different phrasings. He talks about it a lot. Their goal is to basically replace workers. It is to replace you. So we generate good enough AI that replaces human workers. What comes next? I don't know. Not my problem. It's not my business. But that's what Dario is saying, is we want to replace you. And so here's a huge vector where you have angry executives that don't know anything about code. So that's a vulnerable population that you can sell technical things to because they don't know what the hell they're talking about. And then you have Anthropic come in and you say, oh, you need code reviews? Yeah, we got those. We can sell those to you. It's going to cost you, but hey, it's a person. It's not one of these stinky meat bags that comes into the office that's inconvenient and sometimes has HR issues and sometimes takes sick days. Ugh, like who does that anymore? Who does that anymore? So, yeah, we got a tool for you. We got a tool for you. It's just $15 to $25. Scales with tokens. We can't tell you how many tokens it's going to use, but it's going to use some tokens. It's going to cost you some money. We got that for you. Here you go. Brilliant business model. And then here is this is the kill shot. Like if that was all the setup, this is the et tu brute moment. Here is the killer statistic. I will read it from one of their social media posts. Less than 1% of findings are marked incorrect by engineers. Less than 1% of findings are marked incorrect by engineers. Sounds pretty good. If you're a VP, you can now go to your executive VP or CTO who absolutely knows nothing about tech and probably nothing about business at that point. If you're at a giga corporation, they're just a figurehead that got brought in because they were someone's friend. Oh, this is how things work at publicly traded large big tech companies and big enterprise companies. And so that guy, that dude doesn't understand anything. And so you can go to that dude, your boss, if you're the VP, and you can be like, well, less than 1% of engineers disagree with it. I mean, that's pretty good. That basically means it's 99% accurate. That's the implication that Anthropic is making, right? But let me walk you through the engineer side of this. As we've already established, as I already mentioned, engineers don't really like to do code reviews. It's like a necessary evil. You're helping your buddies out on the team to ship code without errors. But it's not like any engineer wakes up in the morning and they're just like, I really would like to review code today instead of being creative and writing my own code. I would like to review what other people have written. Instead of writing, if you're an author, instead of writing, I would like to edit and review somebody else's book. Nobody says that. It's a necessary evil you do to help people on your team out. And so when Anthropic says they have a, quote, less than 1% disagreement rate, it's like, yeah, because it's like you've just automated work that if I'm an engineer, I don't want to do anyways. Guess what? I'm not going to disagree with it because I'm not looking at the PR right now. That's their headline statistic. That's what they're marketing with. But I'm telling you, that's what that means is it's like, I'm not going to disagree with it because that means I don't have to do it. It will be like, okay, check this out. And I'm going to endorse child labor for a minute, but like bear with me for a second. So I have an almost 4-year-old. And let's say I don't really like taking the trash out. I mean, who does, right? It's kind of it's a pain in the butt. You got to take the trash out or else it stinks. So the trash is ready to take out. And let's say I got one of two options. Either I can take it out and I just take the bag, boop, 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 go outside, dump it in the trash bin. Great. It's done. It's out. Or I could employ child labor and I could tell my 4-year-old, you got to take the trash out. Every night you got to take the trash out. I'm not doing it. You got to take the trash out. And in doing so, I think she'd actually do a great job. She'd actually do a great job. But imagine she's not very good at it. And she picks it up and the bag rips and like a couple of things spill out and the bag gets in there and it's still got some trash in it, but there's also like trash along the path to where she walked to go take it out to the trash can. But here's what I'm saying is the stinky trash isn't in the house anymore and it's like kind of done. I don't know. Is that better than me doing it? Maybe. Let's find out. I'll get back to you on how that goes. Zooming out, let's talk about the real broad workforce implications of this. Let's say you are a software engineer. Anthropic came in and they said, we are going to automate your code writing. Okay, great. Great. I can write more code that way. I could just guide it with text. Okay, now we're going to automate your code review process. Okay, great. Those are the main two things that an engineer gets up and does in the morning is write code and then review the code of other teammates and implement those suggestions on your own code. So what is the job of an engineer in this world portrayed by Anthropic that they're trying to will into existence? I believe engineers have value outside of that, but bear with me. This is how the corporate overlords in Silicon Valley are thinking. The companies that have already implemented this, Anthropic stated they had a couple of early use cases that have already implemented this code review feature of Claude Code. Those are going to be Uber, Salesforce, and Accenture. They've been having layoffs. They've been cutting engineering headcount. So what was proposed to be a productivity augmentation is actually a transition pipeline. Write code with AI, review code with AI, and gradually start to decrease the number of engineers that actually understand what that code does. But I have really good news for you if you're a software engineer. Nobody is asking this question because there is so much tech positivism going around. And if you don't believe me, go on tech Twitter, especially these bros in San Francisco right now that cannot stop posting about it. Apparently, they're not working very hard in San Francisco because all they do is post on Twitter all day about what they're building and how beautiful San Francisco is. So these are a bunch of 20-year-olds on stimulants, on Adderall, that are not asking the questions that a grizzled tech veteran with a beard might ask after you've spent some time in the game. And the question that I am asking that I think is this is going to cause a lot of things to come crashing down very soon is what do you do when you have done that for a little while? You're Uber and you have your engineers are probably not engineers. Your product managers are probably saying to the system, write code for this. The code's written by Claude. It goes into code review. And then in code review, you're saying, Claude, review that. And if it's bad, fix it. And if it's good, push it into production. Okay, boss, on it. Goes ahead and does that, deploys it into production. That works well for a little while because you have a bunch of engineers that have spent time at the company. They do know their way around the code base. They can push and pull. And that's really the special thing that you pay an engineer for is that awareness and that thinking capability. It's never really been about coding. These people think it has. Okay, so that goes on for a while. You're in the exec team at Uber, and you're like, oh, let's lay off all these guys. They stink. Like, I don't want them around here, around my executive suite. We had them return to office, and they stink, and I don't want to be around these poor engineers. Ugh, gross. So let's get rid of them. Let's get rid of as many as possible. And we're just down to a few people and we're cranking out features and we got, I don't know, you can ride share your AirPods, get them delivered somewhere or something, new feature that they roll out. And then something breaks in production. You're like, Claude, help. Something's going wrong in production. Can you go fix it? And it doesn't have access to the right systems. It doesn't know how to pull the logs. It doesn't know that crap, the reason that we put that if statement in the core of the code base, nobody really knows why it's there, but it's holding the whole thing together. And the guy who knew that, we canned him last week in the layoffs, but we saved $500,000 a year by canning him. Short-term gain, right? For the shareholders. They're all trying to get out now. Nobody knows how to fix it. And so what Anthropic is touting is a 200% velocity increase looks like a 200% incident rate increase to me on a long enough time horizon. And so if you're an engineer at one of these big tech companies, at one of these corporate firms, the question you should be asking your leadership, putting to them, is when the code breaks in production, you're paying for all these Anthropic tools, it's writing the code, it's now reviewing the code. Who is responsible for it? And if it's me, why? It should be the executives who are responsible if this fail in production, if they are dictating the strategy and determining that the engineers must use these tools. That seems like a decision made by the executives that the executives should be on the hook for. My sense is that it's going to come down to engineers and then they're going to start to use that as justification to continue firing for cause to avoid any kind of nasty lawsuits or anything like that. But I'd be curious to hear your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching. This is the latest development coming down the pipeline. If you thought this was interesting and you want the latest cutting edge of what's going on in tech, labor arbitrage, and bad behavior by our corporate overlords, sign up for the newsletter down below.